starting to get very, very scary, but let's encounter it.
North Carolina state lawmakers hold a hearing on transit safety after a Ukrainian refugee, you remember her well, Ireina Zerutska, was stabbed to death on a train in Charlotte last August.
Right.
But the hearing took an interesting turn when one anti-ICE sheriff stumbled on a basic civics question.
Okay.
What branch of government do you operate under, Sheriff?
Constitution of the United States.
Are you aware of how many branches of government there are?
No.
For the sake of debate, I will move on and say there are three branches of government: legislative, executive, judicial. Of those three, which do you believe you fall under?
I believe I fall under the last one.
Would you say it to me?
Judicial.
Okay.
Get this man out of office.
You are incorrect, sir.
Mm-hmm. You're
You fall
executive.
under the executive. And as a member of the executive, what do you believe your primary function is?
Care and custody of those in my custody at the Mecklenburg County Detention Center.
Okay. That is part of what your responsibilities as sheriff are, sure. But as a member of the executive, your primary function is to execute upon the law, to enforce the law.
Emily,
Jeez, guys.
Likely he was not aware that immigration is a plenary power of the executive branch, and the president wields immense power in the field of immigration.
Right. Final say.
We've spoken at length on this couch about sort of the atrocious nature of our education and how woefully undereducated so many kids are. And then we learn that a lot of adults as well are unaware of the mechanisms of things and the sources of power. And then when you learn and see in real time that it's someone who holds an elected position of great influence and great impact, it is so disappointing and disheartening. And it reminds me that for some reason, there's a whole host of individuals that are occupying these positions in this country right now that have no idea, to speak frankly, what they're doing or why they're there. And the voting population has entrusted in them this faith. And we saw it, frankly, with a vice president and administration ago, where by virtue of a title, there was ascribed a competence and an experience and sort of an earning qualification for that. But we saw a failure. And I think, I don't know if it's baked into government bureaucratic positions where it's like, hey, welcome, and you skip the orientation and you skip having to know and vouch for what exactly your duties are. And the fact that, again, it's an elected position, it makes me even more terrified, because I think, frankly, when people go to vote and they see names on the ballot, they probably have no idea that half the people on it have no idea what they're even going to do when they get to that office. But bottom line, yes, he is there to enforce the laws, just like all of our brave men and women in uniform. So he massively misses the mark when he fails to do so.
Yeah, I mean, guys, listen, he specifically feels like most likely it's indicative of the people who basically voted for him in the first place, right? Let's just say this here. I'm not even sure you should be really surprised here. Generally, if we look around and we see how like the younger generation is basically coming up right now, and then you ask them like some of the simplest questions and it completely goes over their head, it's basically indicative, I'd say, of the household they're growing up in. Let's just say this here. Now, when they went to go vote for him into office here, they didn't care about his ability to understand how to follow the rules or follow directions or understand even the position that he's being elected to. They voted for the letter next to his name. Okay. Now, be fully aware, he is, to my knowledge at least, I mean, he's being called the DEI sheriff, meaning diversity, equity, inclusion sheriff here. But I will say, though, he was voted in by most likely a population of people that just didn't care about it. They just saw the letter next to his name and voted for him. Let's just be honest here when we were saying this here, but he is basically online being called currently the DEI sheriff. Now, for you not to know the position that you're actually supposed to maintain, meaning that you should be looking to follow all of the laws, let's just say this here. To my knowledge, North Carolina is not a sanctuary state. He's probably one of the only ones that are basically fighting against the idea of ICE doing their job. It bothers him, along with most likely, again, the people who voted for him. Understand all of these things here. So what is he doing? He's trying to keep his position. Like similar to how J.B. Pritzker in Illinois basically does all these things, similar to how Tim Walz in Minnesota is doing all of these things here, to the detriment of the actual state and country. They only care about being reelected when it's time for reelection time.
And what's problematic, Carly, is the misunderstanding that you actually report to the executive, and when it comes out in your actions, here's a quote from the sheriff: we do not have a role in enforcement whatsoever. We do not have to follow the rules and the laws that are governed by our lawmakers in Raleigh. Now, the sheriff argues that was taken out of context, but the statement at all is problematic.
Any other way?
Yeah, well, and I believe that the context that it was taken out of, it was that he was saying, well, that only goes along with ICE, which is exactly what we're talking about here. And, you know, if you're a sheriff, I could give some grace and see where you may not know that you're a part of the executive branch, because usually you think the president. But to not know that there are 3 branches of government is pretty tough. But more importantly, the main point that this state representative, his name is Alan Chesser, was trying to make in this line of questioning, and he did a fantastic job. He was respectful the entire time, was that when you are a part of the executive branch, your main job is to enforce the law. And according to him, this is the only sheriff in the state of North Carolina that does not comply with ICE, which is a North Carolina state law. And as I was reading about the story, I was also watching Tom Homan's press conference at the same time.
I was wondering.
And he said, if you violate the law, if you break the law, you're going to jail, full stop. It should be as easy as that, but then you get other members of law enforcement. Remember the police chief out in Portland who was crying publicly on TV because he had to admit that DHS was right, that it was 2 members of Tren de Aragua who shot CBP, and he was weeping over this fact that the federal government was right about it. So sometimes when you get to those higher lines of law enforcement, the higher ranks, it becomes very political, and that muddies everything.
Yeah, and you don't have the right, Harris, in effect, to just declare this is a sanctuary police department, which is in effect what the sheriff is doing if these allegations are correct.
Well, but when there's, and to Carly's point, when there's nobody to really press upon you and to say that, you know, the rest of the state sheriffs are doing it this way and you are the oddball out, can you get in line and do the right thing and follow the law? When you don't have that kind of accountability, yeah, you probably do think you can roll the way that you want to. I think that the issue here, though, is really confounding for citizens, and that's who they serve, and that's really what we care about, right? Are they going to protect the citizens from violent illegals, or are they going to stand by whatever they think they're flexing to politically, that one sheriff out of the entire state's worth? Like, who's he going to choose? And if we're in a lane where he's now going to start choosing somebody else over American citizens, then what do you do?
Yeah, Dr. Siegel.
You know, to follow up on Harris's point, Immigration and Customs Enforcement is now up to 22,000 men and women that are trying to protect this country, that are trying to protect our laws, that are trying to make sure illegal immigrants are deported. That's a profound job. And too often in this country, people that go against authority that's trying to help the country don't even know the facts, don't even know, they leave out massive ideas. What disturbs me the most about this sheriff is that he doesn't know even what branch of government he's in. And by the way, I have a psychiatric background. I say that that's a Freudian slip. He thinks he's in the judicial division. That's the way he's acting, like he's a judge.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I have a lot of questions for the judicial division, given that unfortunate murder happened of Ireina Zerutska. The guy had multiple charges against him. And then we learned that there may be questions for the executive branch, too. We covered that last week. So a lot of questions for North Carolina. Okay, guys.
Okay, listen. This is why I've always rallied against the idea of having, like, people that are blatantly, obviously, externally activist in their ways, specifically holding positions of power. I think you need to basically understand that justice is blind, right? There are multiple layers to it, obviously, in terms of the government. And if you are part of a branch that is basically, dedicated to following the literal law, and then you decide this law doesn't feel right to me, what else are you doing in your position of power, sir? I wonder. All right. I seriously wonder here, guys. All right. This is not a good look for you at all here, guys. It's not. We have an activist sheriff. Imagine for a second. Just follow the law, the letter of the law, bro. All right. As of right now, the federal government is basically mandating that if you are here in the country illegally, it is time for you to basically go. If you are not, let's say a criminal, as a secondary or tertiary offense, obviously, but like if you are not a criminal alien, let's say this year, then you can basically sign up through the CBP One app and just, be sent home, and then potentially you can come back at a later date, guys. Right? But instead, you're fighting it for some reason. And you're wondering why you're going viral right now, being called the DEI judge, because you don't even know the position that you're basically in. You got elected to do it. You're allegedly doing it, right? It just seems like there's going to be an inherent bias. And it's interesting that the guy here towards the end kind of pointed out the idea of him not understanding why this is even like a thing. Bro, you're asking for illogical, emotion first people exclusively. Like you're trying to understand the motives of that. Bro, they could wake up one day, feel this way and say this is true while ignoring all the facts here, guys. All right, this is not something that's very valuable to society here, guys. Again, you're banking the entire country on how you feel that day, or how you feel, or how about this here, or how your favorite influencer feels, or how your think tank, let's say, echo chamber feels for the day here, guys. I mean, that's it here. This is there's no concrete facts you're basing your literal truth on, except for how you feel, or how the people around you make you feel while you espouse some type of hashtag activism, guys. It's all pitiful, bro. All right. This man got into office by people who heard this man's, I'm guessing, speech or talking points or something. They saw the D next to his name, most likely, because he had some type of affiliation. I'm guessing. Who knows here? I have no idea, bro. But long story short, this is ridiculous. Okay. You voted for a man who doesn't even know the position that he is in, and he is, in fact, in a position of power that's dangerous. And that's a stupid type of dangerous, guys. All right. Dangerous. I want to know more. I want to know what exactly, I want to know every single thing about what he does with his position of power. That's where I'm at on that, guys. Listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. If you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, I'll catch you guys later. Guys, do you want to watch movies with me? I never actually thought to promote it over here, guys. But if you guys do want to watch it, guys, we have hundreds of movies. And I mean hundreds of movies that we've reacted to. You guys can come watch them with me if you want to, along with many TV shows. Currently, we're working on the show Dexter, along with Vikings. And we have a lot of series that are already completed. But if you guys do want to watch it with me, the link is in the description. Everything's available at the second tier. But of course, if that's not your thing, guys, don't worry, right? Listen, like and subscribe.